Okay, yesterday we saw machlokes between the Chachamim and Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shimon. Exactly the protocol of the Sotah. What goes first? Is the drinking of the Sotah go first before the mincha, which the Chachamim hold yes, and Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shimon both have the opinion that first you bring the mincha and then you drink. Regardless, fellas, what was the chiddush? That the woman will not be baidik until the mincha is brought, right? Until the mincha is brought, that's maskeres avain. But the mentioning of her iniquity, until that's brought, the woman will not be checked. So we're continuing along the order of exactly what happened, and a very interesting gemara, very nice gemara, not difficult, a little much easier than last night. Welcome, nice to see you, Rabbi Branka. Good to see you. Good, everything's good. Great. Okay, we're up to what?
You want to put a button in front of your face?
Okay, I have the black phone, iPhone. Anyway, you take a look at the Mishnah on Chaf. We're up to the Mishnah on Chaf. Actually, Nimcha Kahamagillah. Again, and also one more thing. They delayed the mechika of the Megillah as much as possible, right? So you delayed it. You wouldn't do mechika before the carbon. You would do it after the carbon. So because yesterday, if you did it before, whether it would be baidik or not, but again, you delayed as much as possible. So now. Actually, Nimcha Megillah, before you're going to be machit the Megillah, Amra, she says, Eini Shaisa, I'm not drinking. Then Megilta Nignezet. You're going to go ahead and hide it. Hirish, you didn't erase it yet. L'chayra, you wrote it Lishma, you wrote it for her. You didn't erase it yet. And she says, Eini Shaisa, I'm not drinking. We saw yesterday, Eini Shaisa is tantamount saying, I'm guilty. As long as she's a briusa, as long as she's healthy, that's tantamount saying that I'm guilty. And what are you going to do with it now? What are you going to do with it, right? What are you going to do with it? So you have Geniza. There was a place you did Geniza. Let's see, Rashi. Bitsi. No, you can't use it for anyone else. It's Lishma. Says Rashi. Where would you go? Now, here what we guys Bitsi de ha'hechel. Mashma on the side of the hechel. The kol kisvei kodesh sheina ruyin likreis mehem nignasin shelo yispasu. B'derech klal, we're going to go ahead and ensure that you're not mevaze the kisvei kodesh. You're going to put it now. If you notice, guys, there's a little gears over here. B'tziri, you see that? A tzir is a doorpost. A tzir is a doorpost. I didn't say dog post, a doorpost, right? If you look at the top Tosfos, I find this fascinating. The top Tosfos, and I looked up this Yerushalmi just because, I have one and I want to use it. So it says Yerushalmi, Tani, Nigneses Tachas Tziroi Shel Heichel. They would hide it underneath the doorpost of the Heichel, right? Lama B'Shul Shachka, in order that it should wear out. Mashman, when you're going ahead, opening and closing it, will wear out, which I find fascinating. L'chayra, that's you bring mavaza, you bring mavaza. So I'm not exactly sure what it means. Again, so what again? I find it difficult. Okay, I'm just pointing out it's a difficulty over here, right? So, and now, what about the next thing in the Mishnah, back in the Mishnah. Now, the mincha, then you would go ahead and mispazeres aladeshin. Now you bought the mincha already, guys, but again, mincha is useless now because why? She says, I'm. So what do you do with it? So they would go ahead and literally spread it in the Beis Hadeshin. Let's see, Rashi, guys. No, you couldn't eat it.
What are you spreading? Not the Kmitza. The Kmitza was given already, right?
Again, whatever's al-Khaira, I'm not sure. I think I'm not sure. That's the truth. I guess so. Says Rashi, al Beis Hadeshin, shehi ba'azara. There was 3 Beis Hadeshins. This is the one that's in the Zara. She'sarfim sham psulei kachik kedashim. You would go ahead and burn the psulei kachik kedashim, upsulei imurim. Right. Mechitzasan lefnim and aklayim. The mechitza of this is inside the kodesh. Kedamina b'shchitas kachim. Shloisha Beis Hadeshin heim. There's 3 Beis Hadeshins. The hoil b'kitcha b'kli. Since it was bought, it was kodesh b'kli. Nisrefes ba'azara. It's burnt ba'azara. V'haimis pazeres hainu nisrefes. When it says you spread it, it means you burnt it. Kidam l'kaman. Ve'elishem and choseim nisrafais kachashiv. So therefore, this carbon you're going to burn. It's not a carbon anymore. It's like psulei mikdashim. It's considered a carbon that's possible. Now, since it's kodesh kedashim, you can't take it out, and you'd burn it b'beis hadeshin. So again, she admits it. You already wrote her a Megillah. We're going to hide that. The war. Now, what happens? The mincha was brought before. You're going to go ahead and burn that. You're going to burn that not on the mizbeach as an acceptable carbon. You're going to. I don't. But it's kodesh b'kli. So even if it's kodesh, I mean the kacha kedashim, even the shirayim is kodesh kedashim. The kahanim can only eat it there. So even if it's l'chayre was burnt, nonetheless they won't be able to eat shirayim because the carbon's not a good carbon. Now, the ain megillah ksher lahashkes basayta acheres. The megillah is not permitted for another one. Correct.
You wouldn't even bring you don't bring them in until she actually drinks it.
Correct. But no, even according to them, you will magdish the mincha b'klishores. You will magdish it already. You were mak of it, but you will magdish it. So in other words, once that's Rashi's point, Shrag, once it's kodesh klishores, that's kedusha lago. Now, and it can be played there. Nimcha koha Megillah, the Megillah that says machak. In other words, and now she admits va'amar tameya ani. Then now what do you got? You got water. The whole purpose of it is to check her out. She's checked already because she admitted the truth, right? What do you say? Hamayim nishbachim. The mayim will be spilled. You're going to go spill it. You're going to spill it out. Says Rashi. Even the amr tameyani, but duko medasi. She's checked out. In other words, the whole purpose of the water is not necessary anymore. Say again, guys. Saying I'm not drinking is tantamount to saying what? Tameyani. She's not going back home to the hobby. She ain't getting a kasuba. She's gone. Good. So there's no purpose in giving her a drink. The whole purpose of it, despite the whole purpose of the suffix, we don't have a suffix anymore. She said, I'm not drinking. Guys, you good? Yeah, there's no reason. Right? Now, back in that Taisvis, the Yerushalmi, second line, Lul Cotton HaYeshan was a small area, small hoop. V'sham hamayim nishbachim. That's where they would spill the water. Okay, that's where they spill the water. Good. Now, Tani, continuing with Taisvis, Aim behem mishum kedusha. Mahu legabel behem esatit. Can you use it for cement? Says Gemara, ma bekach hamayim nishbachim. Tani, yesh behem right. Yesh behem mishum kedusha. Once you're spilling it out, it doesn't have a kedusha. You can even go right. You can go ahead and use it even for what? For cement. Back in the Gemara. So the Mayim Nishbachim min Chasin is Peres al Beis Hadeshen. So clearly it's after you pour the cards. Nimcha Koha Megillah v'Omra Eini Shaisa. Now once it's Mochak, and she says I'm not going to drink. So over here she said Tameyani. Guys, what's the difference between Tameyani and Eini Shaisa? Admission, right? Eini Shaisa usually, if it happens before, we're going to stop the process. But once you will machik the Megillah and you will machik the shame, and it says Eini Shaisa, then you're going to make a drink. Nimcha Megillah of Eini Shaisa, ma'arvin Isa will force her umashnosa bal karcha, and you'll force her against what her will. Why would you do that if she said Eini Shaisa? Rashi, the Dilma Tahirahi umachmas risi susa kamra. She's scared. In other words, she's scared that it might work even if she's guiltless. Guys, someone tells you, listen, if you swallow snake venom, you don't have to worry. You only have to worry if it gets what in your bloodstream, if you get bit by a snake. But if you swallow it, you don't have to worry. How many of you are jumping to take a swig of black mamba juice? No one is. You're nervous, right? So this is what? Black mamba Russian. Now, so there's no, you're not jumping to do that. So she could be, when she says it's getting closer to the reality. So it's easy to say, I'm not going to drink. Now, I'm going to drink. And now reality hits. So maybe she's guiltless, but she's still scared. That's what we saw yesterday. And now, Memela, what do? We're going to make a drink. Why are we going to make a drink? Because she didn't say Tameyani. She didn't say Tameyani. Had she said Tameyani, even if you're machak, you're going to spill it out. She didn't say Tameyani. She said, I'm not drinking. Now, but so now again, so therefore we're going to say that she's not Paduka. She's not a Paduka. Says Gemara, then we'll force her. Now, what happens when she does drink? So she does drink, you brought the carbon, whether it's the chachamim she drank before and you brought the carbon afterwards. Pashtus Shragi, this is going according to the order over here is going according to Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Akiva, that you have the carbon and she's drinking. Her face is going to turn jaundice color. Her eyes will budge. If she's guilty, her eyes will bulge out. You'll begin to see, like, the sinews, the veins popping out of her face. And they would say, get her out of here. She's like the Tami Azara, she should be B'Tama the Azara. So the Gemara is against the Kasha guys. A mace is allowed in the Azara. She's not in the Azara, she's in the Azaz Nashim. She's not in the Beis HaMikdash. She's not Machna Shechina, she's a Machna Levia. How do you know a mace is allowed in Machna Levia? Moshe had Atzmas Yosef, right? Moshe had Atzmas Yosef with him. So the Gemara is going to clarify why do you have to get her out of there? What are you worried about? Okay. Now, Im Yesh La Schus, we had this earlier. If she has a schus, the schus would go ahead and keep her alive, suspend her, right? Yesh schus, no, the schus, we're going to see the schus of Torah, guys. Yesh schus toila shana achas, 1 year. Yesh schus toila beishanim, 2 years. Yesh schus toila gimel shanim. In other words, it's fascinating. She'd be alive 3 years, and then 3 years later, boom, and guess what's going to happen? She's going to, face is going to turn jaundice. Okay. Right.
So the husband could go home and live with him.
Right.
But she's guilty.
Huh?
She's guilty though.
Okay.
So if she has chusim, so the husband resumes.
L'chayra. I mean, what else you can do? What else can you possibly do? Okay. What else can you possibly do? Okay. Mikan Omer ben Azai chayav adam l'lamed es bitoi Torah. Now, she knows she's guilty, right? She drinks the Ma'imarim. It doesn't work. What's she going to say? It doesn't work. No, not that it didn't work. She's saying it doesn't work. In other words, it's going to lead to kfira. So says Ben Azai, you should teach your woman Torah that they should know that, not so fast. It could be that there's a reason it's going to work, and you're going to pay the price. And it could be it won't work right away. But so therefore, Ben Azai is of the opinion you should go ahead and teach her Torah in order that she should know that that the possibility exists that it's going to be Torah and keep her alive. That's Ben Azai. Anyone who goes ahead and teaches his daughter Torah is teaching her tiflis. There's machloikis what tiflis means. We'll go with immorality. You're teaching us nus. She's going to learn the ins and outs, the intricacies of getting, of the legal loopholes of Talmudic lore. They'll know how to avoid the system. Yeshua Aimeh writes the isha bekav betiflis mites kavin. A person would have a right to isha bekav betiflis mites kavin uprecious. A woman would rather have 1 kav of food and her husband and tiflis and relations more than test kavim and precious. I saw a shot like this. With different people have different oinus that they have to meet their wives. So, for example, a donkey driver is once a week, and a camel driver is once in 30 days. If your husband's a donkey driver, he ain't making such a good living. You're getting a kav. If he's a camel jockey, right? If he's making a little more, then I'm sorry.
Basic camel.
But if he on longer distances, he's going to be home test cop a little more. She'd rather have less money and the husband around to have relations with than more money, right? More test cop and less husband. That's why that's put in over here. We have to see. Excuse me, Harold. I'm like Harold. Let's not go there. Okay, this is a family share hash. And it's being taped for my family posterity. Now, and the Gemara is going to explain what did he mean. Okay, finally, Rabbi Shu used to say, Chassid Shaita, a Chassid Shaita, and what a Chassid Shaita is? Sees a woman drowning and doesn't jump in because he can't touch a woman.
Yeah.
That's a Chassid Shaita. That's a Chassid Shaita. That's a chassid shaita. That's a chassid shaita. The Rasha Arum, right? And he used to say that's a Rasha Arum. We'll see with the explanation of this in the Gemara. Bisha Prusha Makas Prushim Hari Elu Mibli Oilam. We'll see all this Mefarish the Gemara. What does it mean? Person who hits himself against the wall to show that he's an onav and it's nua. We'll see all explanation of this in the Gemara. Very famous Gemara. But now, Rabbi Yehuda Meshmol says the Gemara. Mishum Reb Meir Neighbor Meir. Yeshayisi Loma Torah Eitzel Rabbi Akiva. Says Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir was a Talmud of Rabbi Akiva. But you see, Matal Kankantum L'Toicha Dayai. I put Kankantum in the Dayai. Now, what Kankantum was, guys, it made the ink permanent. It made indelible. It made it indelible. Now, here's going to be the shaila. Obviously, for the Megillah Sotah, you cannot use kankantum because it has to be erasable. We said yesterday, if the risham is nicker, right, it's not going to work. We said when you put it in the water, one of the limudim of the hishka was if the risham of the letters are nicker, it's not going to work. Correct. So the question is, could a Sefer Torah l'chayra, you could put kankantum in? What about the Parsha Sotah in a Sefer Torah? You put kankantum in that. In other words, would you be able to use that Parsha for Sotah? Now, if you hold that you need a lishma, then you can. If you hold that you don't need lishma, but it could be stam, we'll see. Says the Gemara. Okay. So I'm ready to mishma, mishum Reb Meir. Kashitzi na metaretzel gamar yisi matal kankanum b'taychadayai. V'lo amali davar. And Rabbi Akiva did not say anything to me. However, Kshabasi Yetzel Rabbi Yishmael, when I came to Rabbi Yishmael, Amalei Yishmael said to Reb Meir Bini, Ma'amalachtecha, what's your work? Amati lo, I told him, Lavler ani, I'm a lavler, I'm a sefer. So Amali Bini, have a zor, be very careful. Shem malachtecha, malacha shemayim. Your malacha is malacha shemayim. Shem etachser ois achas, oitater ois achas, nimsat amachav kol oilam. If you add a word or subtract a word, you're mamish destroying what? You're destroying the world. Rashi brings one example. Guys, look at the Rashi. For example, let's say you see Elikim Emes, and you would take out the aleph, Chas v'shalom. It would spell the word mace, right? Or let's say you add a letter. Let's say Breishis bara. What is it? You write baru, right? So in other words, you can go ahead and mess things up just by doing that. So said I answered him what's the answer? Let's do his answer. We had this going in Yud Gimel in Erevin. Now, what's the conversation? Be very careful with your malacha, because if you add a letter or detract a letter, you can be mach of the world, right? Because don't worry, I put kankantum in. What was the answer to what I'm saying?
It's worse being a racist.
So Amali, Chimatil kankantum l'toichadayai, HaTorah Omar umacha, right? It says umacha by the Megillah Sotah. It says umacha, right? What does that mean? Ksav sheyachol imchais. So now that was the conversation. Good. Now let's analyze the conversation. My Amalei, what exactly did Rabbi Yishmael say to Rabbi Meir, and what did he answer? My Amalei, my Kamahadalei. What did Rabbi Yishmael say, and what did Rabbi Meir answer? So Hachi Kamalei. Loy mi boys b'chaseris v'yaseris the baki ano, says Rabbi Meir to Rabbi Yishmael, don't worry about extra letters or less letters. I'm an expert. Elafilu l'meichesh l'zvuv. That, in other words, let's say it's not my problem. It's not my fault. Let's say a fly would come. The dilma asi v'yosef atage de dalid umachik lei. Right? You'll go from echad, guys, to acher. Hashem echad. But guys, what happens if you take off the little shtickle at the end? Acher, right? That changes the whole thing. So let's say a fly would land on that piece of ink and fly away. You'd have a problem, right? You just change the word echad to acher. Good. Umashvile reish, or davrache yeshli shani matal techadayai. You can count them shemai. In other words, so not only don't you have to worry about me writing it, but even when it's out of my control that an event might happen, you don't have to worry about, because since I put kankantum in there, when the fly lands, it's not going to be able to remove the ink. That was the conversation. Good. That was the conversation. Now, Fred the Gemara, is it really so? We're going to ask on the people who were there and with the answer. But Tanya, Amr Meya, guys, in the order, what do we have? We have learning by Rabbi Akiva and then going to Rabbi Yishmael, correct? We have learning by Rabbi Akiva and then going to Rabbi Yishmael. Tanya Amar Reb Meir, Kishayisi Loma Torah Eitz to Reb Yishmael, Hayisi Matel Kankantam L'Torcha Dayoi. I put Kankantam into the Dayoi. Now he's learning about Rabbi Yishmael. V'lei Amali Davar, and Rabbi Yishmael didn't say anything. Kishabasi as Rabbi Kiva Asru Alai, and he asked it to put Kankantam in. So Kasha Shimush Hashimush. Who was he mishamish? Was he mishamish first, Rabbi Akiva or Rabbi Yishmael? And Kasha Asra Issa, whether you can use Kankantam or what or not. Now Bishlei Mashimish Hashimush like Kasha Meikara Asla Kamei the Rabbi Akiva Kiva Le Matzi Kamali Bey. Since he was not astute enough to understand what was going on, Asla Kamei the Rabbi Yishmael. The Gemara, and then he got in order all the Mishnayos and everything. Hadar Asla Kamei the Rabbi Akiva. Then he came to Rabbi Akiva. In other words, Rabbi Akiva was into explanation. It took for granted that you knew certain things, and then he was expounding upon them. But he wasn't so proficient then. He went to Rabbi Yishmael. He got everything again. It was Balpeh by all this time. He got this everything in order, and then he came back to Rabbi Akiva. So therefore, we're speaking about two different time slots. The first one, Rabbi Akiva, was after he had learned by Rabbi Yishmael, and the second one was initially while I was learning by Rabbi Yishmael. So that would explain the order. Hada Asla Kamei Rabbi Kiva and Savasvara. Elo Asar is a kasha, whether Kankantam could be used as a kasha. Says more Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Aimer Hoya Reb Meir, L'chol Matil Kankantam. So Gemara says kasha, guys. Guys, it's fair. Guys, it's fair. Kasha, it's fair. Can you put Kankantam in or not? It's fair. In this Maisa, it's fair. In this Maisa, it's fair. Allah Rabbi Akiva initially says he didn't say anything, and then secondly he said it's asa, right? So how do you explain that? Kasha, it's a kasha. Okay, now more about Kankantam, okay, guys. The outside, let's do this outside a little bit, fellas. If you hold you need the Sotah written lishma, then Pashtus you could write the Sefer Torah with Kankantam because you'll never come to use the Parsha of Sotah by Midbahei. If you hold that Parsha Sotah does not have to be written lishma, then you have ostensibly you would not be able to write the Sotah Parsha with Kankantam because you might need it for whatever purpose. With that in mind, Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, everything he put the Kankantam into the Dayoi, right? Puts me Parsha Sotah with the exception of the Parsha Sotah Bilvad. So obviously, if he didn't put it in the Parsha Sotah, he must have held that it doesn't have to be written lishma, right? Because again, they're talking about writing a Sefer Torah, and nonetheless, he didn't the Parsha Sotah, he didn't write with Kankantam. Rabbi Yaakov, no, Mishmai. Rabbi Yaakov said in the name of Meir. So we have two reports. We have Rabbi Yehuda saying in the name of Meir, and we have Rabbi Yaakov saying in the name of Meir. Puts me Parsha Sotah shel Migdash. They didn't use Kankantam in the Parsha Sotah in the Migdash, right? But they did use it in the Sefer Torah. My binayu. Amar Yirmiyah, limchak lo min ha-Torah, ikabinaya, whether you can be moichik from the Torah, right? The first opinion who said that Rabbi Yaakov's report, Rabbi Yehuda's report, right? You didn't use Kankantam because you used the Sefer Torah. According to Rabbi Yaakov, no, you can't use the Sefer Torah, therefore you can use Kankantam in the Parsha of Sotah. Now, Amar Yirmiyah, limchak lo min ha-Torah, ikabinaya. Bahani tanoi, kihani tanoi. And these tanoim, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yaakov, go according to the following Tanoim. Guys, outside, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that you could use the Sefer Torah, you don't need the Shema. According to Rabbi Yaakov, who says you can't use the Sefer Torah because it has to be written in Shema. So l'chayra, that would be Hatalia, each one dependent on the other. Says the Gemara. The Tanya, Ein Megiltus Ksheira lahashkas b'Sotah acheres. One Megillah cannot be used for another Sotah. Rav Achabar Yoshia Amar. So in other words, according to Rav Achabar Yoshua says that you could use it for another Sotah, he would hold like Rabbi Yehuda. And 1 second, Tanya, I'm missing something. According to the Tanakama, he would hold like Rabbi Yaakov. Rav Achabar Yoshua would hold like Rabbi Yehuda. Amra Papa no, Dilmalahi. In other words, fellas, I can make a chilik and say that each one would hold like the other one. I kind of like a Tanakama Hassam over there. Ela kivin the intik l'shem Rachel loichodra minatke l'shem Leah. Aval Torah the stomach sivi hachanami the machkinan. In other words, there's fleishiks, there's parav, and there's milchiks. Good. You need milchiks, right? If it's fleishiks, you don't have milchiks. If it's pariv, you can go either way. So you want to tell the following, that you can't use the Sefer Torah. Why? Because it has to be written Lishma. Maybe not. Maybe when it doesn't have to be written Lishma, it just can't be written for another person. But if it's pariv, you could use it. So if it's written for Rachel, I can't use it for Leah. But if it's written Stam pariv, then I could. So Einachinami. Maybe the Sefer Torah, even if you hold you need Lishma, that will be enough for Lishma. Lishma means just not for another person. This is not another person. So then you're not locked into saying that the one who holds you the one who holds that you can't put kankantim, that you could put kankantim in, not necessarily would he say that what can't put kankantim, that not necessarily that while locked in. No, that you could, not necessarily that you could use kankantim. You don't put kankantim in, does not necessarily mean that he doesn't hold Lishma. He just holds. You don't need flesh. A parav would work. So therefore, you wouldn't put it in the Sefer Torah. That's one way to disrupt your machlokes. Another way. And I can look at Rabbi Achi Bar Yoshia Hasam Elam Gilta the Ichtav L'Shem Olus Ba'olam Avol Torah the Islamic Kasiva Hachanami Delay Mechakinon. The other way around. In other words, when Rav Acha said that you could use another one's Sotah, guys, you know why? It was written for that purpose. So we'll ask a question about the Shema. In other words, when you wrote it for Leah, was it written for the purpose of a Sotah? Then you can use it for Rachel. When you wrote the Sefer Torah, why did you write for the Sefer Torah? To learn. And therefore what? Since it wasn't written for always, you can't use it. Okay, so you're not locked into saying that he holds like that. If a person decides to divorce his wife, v'nimlach, and changes his line, matzah ben ira, if he finds a member of his city, v'amaloi, shmi kishemcha, my name is like your name, v'shem ishti kishem ishtecha, my wife's name is like your wife's name, pasal garishba. In other words, of course, it's not lishma. So, no, if you can hold that you write it for one Sotah, you can use it for another Sotah. What's the difference by get? It means it must be what he holds by get. Also, you could do that. No, Hasam, it says v'chas of law, Amar Rachmanon. Being kasiv lishma. It says v'chas of law, you need lishma. I by Sotah, I for the Gemara, Achnami, v'asa law. It says you should do law, so it has to be lishma. It says my asiyah, you know what the asiyah means? Mechika. The kasiva could be written for another Sotah like Rabbi Chai. But you know what? The mechika, when you erase it, has to be for that particular Sotah. That's the shema. The asiyah is the mechika, not the kasiva. Not the kasiva. So you're not locked into saying it's a machlokes tanoim, that each tana will hold like the other one. Now, eina maspekas lishtais ad shepaneha, that her face would blow up. Now, pashtus, that this is speaking after you brought the mincha. This was the point of what of like Shrayi said. Says the Gemara, money, who must it be? Rav Shimon he. The Amma, Makaves Minchasa, Vyakach Mashka. Now, how do you know a place will blow up, guys? Because it had to be that you brought, if it's blowing up simultaneously, it had to be the mincha is bought already. Again, the rule, guys, this is a very crucial thing. The drinking alone is not going to do the job. You need the mincha. So if you hold you drink before and the mincha is afterwards, obviously you can't blow up. B'shas you drink. You didn't bring the mincha yet. So over here, when the Mishnah says you're going to blow up, it must be you brought the mincha already. That's the point of the Gemara. Because it's saying, as soon as you drink, if you're guilty, boom, it must be you brought the mincha already. That's the sheet of Reb Shimon that we saw yesterday, that you bring the mincha before what? You drink. Because it's not blowing up yet. Why? Because you need maskeres and you need to bring of the mincha. Okay, so there's the Gemara. Who money of Shimon? The comment like carve minchasta is if you don't go ahead and bring the mincha like badikla maya, it's not going to work. The chsiv, I told you, minchas sikaroin. What does that mean? Maskeres and it's the mincha is mentioning a name. Now you got a problem, guys. Aim a seifa. Yesh la schus. If you have a schus, haisa tailallah. Aslan rabbanan. The Rav Shimon Amar ein schus taila b'mayim amarim. Rav Shimon is of the opinion there's no such thing as that. No such thing. So Amisha says two things. One, you're going to blow up right away. Two, but if you have a schus, you're going to live. Who holds that you bring the mincha and then mat and then the carbon? Rav Shimon. Rav Shimon holds first you bring the mincha and then the drink. Rav Shimon. Same Rav Shimon also holds what? You don't have schusim. So how do you learn? So there's a third sheet, guys. Rabbi Akiva. You got three sheets yesterday. There are Bonon who say first you drink, and both Rav Shimon and Rabbi Akiva say first you bring the carbon. Rav Kista, Amani, who's the Tanav Mishnah, Rabbi Akiva. He Tanav Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva. The Amar Makaves Minchasa. You bring the mincha, Yachach Mashcha, and then you go ahead and drink. Ubeschusa v'lakrabanan. Rabbi Kiva halakrabanan and then the. Okay, now what would they say? The hey moment they would say, "Chaytziua, get her out of here. We're worried that she's going to be metama." What? Now again, one of the things that people, in when you think about it, it's very interesting. You think the most tummy dika thing is a mace, and you'd be correct. So you think in shiluach min amachna, the one that goes out 3 machnas would be the mace, and it's not true. We went through this. The only one that goes out 3 machnas is this week's parsha, guys. Is Mitzayra. Who goes out of 2 machnas? What? Anyone that has a tumah that comes from their body. That's the rule of thumb. Tumah is yotzei megufay. So a nida, a zava, a zav, a balkari. Who stays only one machna? Mace. Yosef, Atzmas Yosef. So Fred the Gemara, Gavaldi Kasha. Why are you taking her out? Like she's going to die? It's a big deal. Let her die. She's allowed to stay there. Yosef hangs out there all the time, right? What? They want to clear up.
No, I'm not trying to do it.
No, I'm saying that's. We're dealing with halacha. We're not dealing with cleanliness. We're not. This is halacha. The mess, not cleaning up the mess would be practical, but it's not halacha. It's not, what? It's Hungarian. Clean people, Okay, anyway, says the Gemara. So my timer, what are you worried about? The Dilma Mesa, meaning Lemnemra, you mean to say the mace asa b'machna levia? You mean to say that a mace would be asa b'machna levia? But Tanya, Tame mace mutali kanas l'machna levia. Again, 3 machnas, guys. Shechina levia Yisrael. Mace is allowed only outside Shechina. Not only a person that touched the mace, the mace himself is permitted in machna levia. Shneimar, vayikach Moshe satzmas Yosef imay. He was in Moshe's tent. Guys, where is this woman? She's by the Sharnikna. What is that? That's Machna Levia. So what are you worried about? You should know the answer. Amar Abaya, Shema Tifres Nida. Nida, 1 second. You're right. The Nida's got to go outside 2 machnas, right? So you're worried the Shema should be Tifres Nida. Good, that's what you're worried about. So in other words, it's a curveball. You're focusing on a dying, so you're thinking it's the Tumas Mace. No, you're worried about before she kicks the bucket, or before she blows up, that's Merishing Parisnida. Fred the Marakashal and Memra to be Susa Marpa. You want to say that fear will go ahead and loosen her womb, that the uterus, that the blood will come out, right? In Dichsiv, but the Chalka Hamalka Ma'id by Esther, right? When she got the news, it says Esther became a Nida. The famous Gra, guys. Why'd she invite both Machash Veris and Haman to the party? The Gemara says if a Nida walks between 2 men, she kills one of them. So it was a win-win situation. That's what the Gemara says. Anyway, but Amar Rav, she pierced a Nida. What happened to Esther? She was Paris Nida. So you see the fear that she pierced Nida. So Vanan Tanan, we learned Charode Misalekes Damim. A woman who's scared, it stops the flow of blood. Let me explain to you what's going on. A woman has a veset. She has a cycle when she usually sees, right? And you expect to see a certain time, and therefore, if she has a ves kavua, she'll only be mitama mason l'kan la'aba from that time and not previously. However, if she's in a cave hiding from goyim, she's bechal mesulekes damim. So, Fred the Gemara Kasha, you see the fear of goyim and the concern is going to stop the blood flow from coming. And over here, you say the fear of her dying. Okay, and for the Gemara, there's different fears. And for the Gemara, pachta samis, a fear that's been there. A constant fear, sumis, causes to shrink, that the blood won't come. Be suso, a sudden fear, marpa. That causes what? That causes the loosening. Let's see Rashi, guys. Tachtot sumis, daiga, the concern. Sheina ba pisain, right? Eladoy agus. It's a daiga that doesn't come suddenly, but it's all the time. Shema yavo oivim laharga. Maybe the enemy is going to come and kill her. Saimis es hamakar. That causes the makar, the womb, to go ahead and uterus to stop milahotzidam. But feel b'shas vesta, even if it's a woman who has a vesta, at a time that she could expect to see the worry, the concern will stop it. By he the nida and the daiga itmar the tani higia shavesta leibatka tamea. Okay, let's skip a little bit. Okay, be susa next Rashi. Abba pisa, it comes suddenly. Kigon zu shlei hoisa chareda. She wasn't scared at akshav. Upislim he margeshes b'tzayra, and all of a sudden she feels sad that she's dying. V'chein be'Esther shebala shemua midarchei Mordechai pislim marpa adam, and that causes what the dam to come. Okay, I think we'll stop over here. Get some down.